It took an unnecessarily long time for us to get this radiator. Welcome back to Southpaw Garage in our first 4K video recording. I don't know about y'all, but to me, that's a step for the channel right there. But today we're going to go over some updates to the engine build for the Chevy Nova. We got a few new components mounted and some items that we're working on, so let's go take a look. You can see we finally have the alternator mounted. We ended up going with a alternator and power steering pump bracket combo from Speedway Motors. So it gives the alternator a nice high sitting point. Make sure it clears the A-arms. And the power steering pump fits nicely up in there. Stationed right there, mounted up really good. And this gloss black looks really good on the front of the motor, contrasting that shiny chrome and the polished aluminum. You've seen the compressor for the air conditioner up here before, but we did paint this bracket gloss black so that it would match the gloss black for that bracket. It was originally a kind of satin, almost flat finish. So now it's gloss black, got that matched up real good. We do have the hoses hooked up to the compressor now. As you can see, they run out here. Got the first hose running and connected to the hard line for the AC radiator. The other hard line runs up and under. Comes in right there. Runs up to the condenser and dryer that is mounted to this part of the inner fender well. We ran the AC hoses behind, or I guess technically under, the fender. Goes all the way back there. I feel like having the hoses back there is going to help keep the engine bay a lot cleaner once everything's said and done, because we're going to have wires and other hoses running and other lines running anyway, and I want to keep it as clean as possible. The heater hoses come out right here. We are probably going to end up running those through here. And then one will go to the intake and one will go to the water pump. So that'll keep them from running over on top of everything and kind of just keep them out of the way and out of the line of sight. We're also working on the radiator support down here. The original radiator that came in the car is a little bit skinnier than the radiator that we ended up going with. We got a cold case radiator for a 1970 Nova with a small block, but it wouldn't fit in this space right here. It was sticking out probably about that far, especially with the rubber feet that it sits in. So we cut down this section of the support and kind of got all of this level right here, so the rubber piece will sit flush and the radiator can sit on it. And speaking of the radiator, we had an unnecessarily difficult time getting the correct radiator from Cold Case. We originally ordered from Jegs. They had a really good deal on them. So we placed the order and they told us that they would be shipping from the manufacturer, which, I mean, we don't really have a problem with that. There's not really any issue with that. So we got the shipment notification. About a week later, the radiator arrived and the box had the correct part number on it, but the radiator inside was for an automatic transmission instead of a manual transmission. And before all y'all go jumping off in the comments saying, you can use an automatic with a manual, it's not that big of a deal. That's just not what we wanted. We ordered the one for the manual transmission because we wanted it to look as close to stock as possible, since back then, a manual transmission would not have had the automatic cooler on it anyway. So we got in touch with Jegs. They told us they would help us take care of it. They contacted Cold Case, told them they needed to send out another radiator and they needed to check the box to make sure that it was the correct one in the box. Jegs sent FedEx to pick up the incorrect one. We had that shipped back. About 2 to 3 weeks later, get another delivery from Cold Case, and I'm not lying when I tell you it was the exact same box that we had just shipped back with the wrong radiator in it. We could tell by the way we had opened it, and one of the styrofoam pieces on the inside that kind of goes around the radiator to protect it when it's boxed and shipped had a broken piece on it, and that broken piece was the exact same as the one that we shipped back. Everything like that. The wrong radiator, delivered once again. Called Jegs, decided to just do a return and refund. They didn't have any problems doing that. They got the return. I got the refund fairly quickly. And I found somewhere that actually had the radiator we were looking for in stock instead of having to have it shipped from the distributor. And called them, got the order put in, and we were finally able to get the correct radiator delivered. And I'm not blaming Jegs or anything like that. They did a great job trying to help me out. Cold Case just did not check the boxes to make sure the correct radiator was in the box, and that's a little disappointing. But luckily, we were finally able to get the correct radiator in that we were looking for, the one that we ordered. So now, with all this going on, all this that we've modified down here, the radiator is sitting over here on our makeshift workbench. Now we can finally start working on installing our radiator and getting the engine to the point that we're about ready to crank it for the first time. Fast forward to day 2 of this video update on the Nova. I'll take you over here and show you we have the radiator mounted up mostly. Don't have the fan shroud or anything in front of it. We do have this radiator support cover holding it in. We had to kind of modify it a little bit because this radiator is thicker than a stock radiator, so the feet that go on the top and bottom are a little bit longer, so they stick out here. We're going to have to look at getting another one of these possibly, or doing some other kind of modification because it's so tight up against the radiator that there's no way to mount the fan shroud where it needs to be right there. So we are going to have to look at that, but it's in for right now so we can get hoses and everything hooked up to look forward to starting the car for the first time. Like I mentioned, we've mounted up the filler panel and the filler panel support on the front. This side is just kind of in there temporarily until we are ready to put the driver's side fender on. Fender support bracket is also mounted up under there. There's a couple more items for this update. We've got the battery tray mounted up here so we can get ready to set the battery in and get that hooked up, as we can't start the car without the battery, obviously. And then over here we have a beautiful chrome finished Holley carburetor sitting on top of a 1-inch spacer right there. You can see it. That spacer is going to change the rate at which the fuel and air mix, which is going to help increase horsepower. But that is it for this upload. Fingers crossed that the next upload includes starting the motor for the first time. Thank you for watching. Click the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want to see more updates to the Nova as we finish restoring it and rebuilding it, or if you want to see any of the changes that I make to the Silverado coming up. But for now, I'll see y'all in the next one.